So when I was looking at this back seat, what I thought to myself is, as much as I love everything about this boat, I always thought this was one kind of unfinished aspect of it. And what it is with these back seats, we all know there's not a latch, there's not hinges. They just kind of lift up, they smack down, they bounce around when you're trying to hold it up, get stuff out of it. It's constantly wanting to fall. The other thing I don't understand is when you sit on it, it feels like you've got to scoot pretty far back. I don't understand why it went all the way to the wall here. I don't think it needs to. Now, I know if I pull it out, there's going to be a gap, which stuff might fall down there and you might be reaching back there once in a while. But I started looking under here and I thought maybe I could just move this angle piece back so this seat would slide forward a little bit. Well, with that said, I thought, why don't we dive into it a little bit deeper? And instead of doing that and having it smack down, let's see what we can come up with. So here we are. If you look at this seat, it does sit a little farther forward, which, by the way, is a lot more comfortable to sit on. But wait till you get a load of this. So we went from slapping down before and these seats sliding around to that right there floating. Looks better, feels better, and that was a finishing touch I'm pretty proud of. Okay, so here is most of what we're going to use on this project. What we got here starting out, obviously a tape measure. Always going to need one of those. This is going to be a 3/8 inch wrench. Right here, this is going to be a couple of spacers. I've got these cut at 3 1/4 because that's what the hinge base I'm going to be using is. Now what these are just a little bit of leftover material I had from a project I did. They're a marine grade plastic, so they're really, really hard plastic. In fact, I might even show you the other project I used this material for. But I just had some leftover. If you don't have this, I would assume most of us don't. You could use something else. One little helpful tip that I would give you, go buy a cutting board off Amazon. Just get a hard nylon cutting board, and in a lot of cases when you're looking to secure something down or fasten something to your boat, if you want a material that doesn't warp, doesn't expand, doesn't mold or rot or anything like that, cutting board pretty much will handle that for you. So that's a little tip. This is a marker paint pen, basically, and I'm going to show you why I chose that. Not just because we had one sitting around, but it actually has a pretty good purpose in this. And if you don't have this, I am positive that a normal Sharpie would work for you. Phillips head screwdriver, obviously. This right here is just kind of a weather stripping material. When you go out and buy this stuff, make sure that you get a good dense one, I guess you'd call it. A lot of them that are on the market are just there for insulation, and they're just a really soft, kind of spongy one. This is a little more dense, and that's what I'd recommend. Now, this is really inexpensive. I think this was $4 for a 10-foot roll. We're going to be using that, and I'll show you how. These right here are 1024 stainless steel nuts and lock washers, or lock bolts. Probably said that wrong even there, but you get the drift. And right here are the hinges we're going to use. I really lucked out on these. I got a screaming deal. I went to a couple of different stores and I was looking for a good heavy duty hinge to use here, and I kind of got chased out by the price. They were pretty expensive. And then a couple days ago I walk into a store and I see these in the clearance bin for 20 bucks. Jumped all over it. Online, these hinges are $62, I believe. And eBay, in fact, I checked eBay, they were 71 plus like $15 in shipping. And again, I lucked out and got these for 20 bucks, and that's for a pair. But you're gonna want a good heavy duty hinge here, and that's what we've got right there. All right, so here are the stars of the show. These are the gas-filled spring lifts made by Sea Dog Line. Now these run you about 25 bucks a piece, so I mean, they're not cheap. I know on Amazon they have some that are really inexpensive. The problem I saw with those is I went to place an order on it, and they had the estimated delivery about a month from now, which is pretty non-typical of Amazon, but I guess when stuff ships from overseas, that's the process, that's what it takes. These were basically available right in my backyard, so I took it. They run about 25 bucks. These little brackets run, I think, 9 something each. With these gas-filled spring lifts, they come in a wide variety of different lengths and weights and pressures. I'll tell you, these are almost the smallest they have. They're only 20 pound, and these are 10 inch. And I will tell you, I was right on the fence of trying a heavier one, trying a 40 pound instead. But these seem to be all right on this, the one I've got done. They seem to be pretty sweet, really soft, not hard to push down, or you know, real springy to lift up. So if springy's a word. So I went with these 20 pound, and that's what I'm going to go with. Now I will tell you, I think you could go with one single 40, so your budget would be half, because the 40 pound is the same price as the 20. I kind of like being even on both sides, or symmetrical, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm putting one on each side. So we are going to start by taking this seat off. Now, we're not going to take off the angle brackets yet. You're going to see how those still come into play, and how we are still going to use these. So the way these hinges are designed to go on is obviously like this. And you could put it there, you could have it here. Problem I have with that is now you've got this piece sticking up. So the rest of this seat is gonna try to lay level, but because the seat sits back to here, back a little farther, that obviously would put the bottom of that seat right there, tilting up a little bit. So what I did, and the reason we're gonna use these plastic marine grade spacers that I showed you, is because we're actually gonna turn the hinge all the way around. Now if you look at it, there's no bump. Now this will still open up as far as we need it to when it's attached there, but now you don't have the bump. Well, why do you need the hinge? Because this round part is gonna hit here, or you're not gonna be secure flat there. By putting this right here and attaching it like this, now we can level it out and everything sits flat. Now that chair is going to slide right by there and sit flat. So I just put these in the clamp with the spacer right where it needs to be, and I am just going to pop a hole through these. Guys know that watch my videos, I'm kind of a one-man wrecking crew here. I do my own filming, so I'm doing a drill on one hand, camera in the other. Okay, so I have 2 marks here. One is at 1 foot. I've got the other on the far side at 3 foot. That's about how much I want these spaced out. So the cabinet itself, I believe, is 47 inches. So we went 1 and 3, got a foot on each end. That's about where we want the hinges on it. So again, we're using these hinges backwards, so to speak. We're gonna put that right in the center there. Now our goal here, and I'm gonna turn it around and show you why. Our goal here is obviously to be able to secure this on the back side of the cabinet, hanging at the right level. So we want everything flat. We're gonna be placing this ultimately on the back here. And if you wanna get in close, I'll show you. So it's gonna be sitting like this. Now, to get the right depth right here, what I found, and I could tell you guys how I figured it out and all that, but I think it's pointless. I'm just gonna tell you, we need a 1/4 inch. We need this to sit down 1/4 of an inch. This marine grade plastic that I told you about before is exactly a 1/4 inch thick. So I'm just gonna put this in here. I'm just gonna hold that in place, and I am gonna drill out these 4 holes. And if you can come around with the camera and give me a little bit of light, that would be great. So we're just gonna come through and we're gonna drill these 4 holes. Okay, so we are gonna line these up. We're gonna top these bolts through and see how we did. And the key here is for this right here to sit flush. So if you were to err one way or the other, you'd be better off having these holes drilled a little bit too high instead of a little bit too low. Because if they're too low, if you drill these too low, this is going to have a tendency to do that because it's going to be hitting down here. As you can see, we're not exactly flush, but we're pretty close. But a little hump here is going to be okay. We can handle that. You don't want to put the seat on yet. Now, you probably noticed there's a little time lapse in this video. I had this empty before, but then we decided to take the boat off crabbing. So we put all the life jackets back in, and now I'm back to finish out the video. So I did put the seat back on, but I have to take it back off before you put the lift springs in. And the reason is, when you start trying to get these in place to drill them, you're gonna find that the seat in the way, your drill, unless you have a good angle drill, your drill's gonna be too tall. The seat's gonna be in your way. So make sure you don't put the seat back on your hinges until the very end. So I recommend just snapping these in place, getting both ends on and attached. Real easy to do. These spring lifts will have, well, it was easy to do before I started holding my camera here. So they'll snap right on like that. So I'm not gonna get into the crazy math or anything, but I'm just gonna tell you that I start the hinge 3 inches out from this right here. So I've got this hinge at 3 inches, and I'm not gonna go all the way flush to here because it would put these holes too far back towards the edge. So rather, I'm gonna slide it out just to about the bend in that, about right there. And I'm gonna score these with a drill, and then I'm gonna drill it through. So when you mount these spring lifts, you always want the thin side down. So you always want the bar down. And so I'm gonna attach these. Actually, as you saw when I was measuring, so when I measured these and I drilled them, I did it from here. I did it like that. But now we're gonna take this, we're just gonna put it right here, and we're gonna pop the screws through and tighten them down. I'm gonna do that, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so we have the bracket in place. It should look just like that. Okay, for measuring up how far out I want the seat to sit, I ran a bunch of different numbers, looked at it, and what I ended up with is, if we set this seat up here the way they originally had it drilled, I want that about 1 inch forward, 1 inch. Now, this is a good point. This is also why we haven't taken off these angle pieces that are a fixed thing. That's what's going to help us keep it the right distance side to side. That obviously is helping here to measure as well, but that's why we left that on, is so we knew the right side to side on this. From there, now we're going to use the marker pen that I told you about before. And what we're going to do is we're going to access from below. We're going to put dots there. Now, when we lift up the seat, we're going to have our dots. There they are. All right, got my little drill bit. I'm going to assume it's, I don't know, it's probably a 1/16 at the most. And you don't have to race at this, and you don't have to go in too far. We're only using about 3/4 inch screws here, so just pop a little starter. Like that. All right, so I'm gonna go underneath, and by the way, I finally got some help holding the camera, so I'm gonna go underneath. And you guys, I recommend use a hand screwdriver for this. Anytime you're screwing into wood, get your starter started, but if you use your power drill, you're likely to strip it. They're on. You can lean it up and finish tightening. And now at this point, we can take both of these rails off. It's not going to go side to side, and so we're going to remove these at this point. Alright, so the seat is latched on and it's all solid. I don't know if you can tell, I'm attempting to slide that side to side. It doesn't go anywhere. So now we're gonna lift this up, the bracket, and we are gonna basically find the point where we can keep the bar straight, make sure it has clearance as it closes, and then we're gonna find our spot to latch that on right there. We're gonna mark some points and we're gonna screw it in. Okay, so everything's in. Right now is kind of the moment of truth. We pull that out. Yeah, there we are. We're staying up. All right, we're in action. We've got okay, so for finishing touches, we're gonna do two things. One of them is I'm gonna put just a little rubber tape right here, just so when you close this metal on metal doesn't slap. What I'm using for it, I just had laying around. Some of you guys have probably already recognized this. This is that rubber grip tape you buy to wrap your rods so they're non-slip or non-skid, whatever you want to call it. And I just had some of this laying around in the garage, so we're going to use a piece there, and then I'll show you where we go after that. All right, so we've got the rubber pieces in place, and guys, if you don't have some of that stuff around, I'm sure there's a million and one ideas. You still could use your sponge seal. It's just a little bit thicker, and so that's why I didn't, because I had this. But I mean, you could even go duct tape or electrical tape, or I mean, just get creative there. All you're doing is deadening the sound a tiny bit, so it's not too crucial. Just use something. All right, now you remember this at the start of the video. We are going to use that all around these edges, and I'm just going to put it up here. And again, I'm trying to do this on my own, but we're going to start it out right here. We're going to run it down. We're going to make a cut right in here and fasten that down. All right, guys, so here is the finished product. We've put the rubber pieces here that I told you about. We've put our foam tape all the way here, all the way down here. And again, that's just kind of to deaden the sound. Now watch how sweet this is. We're gonna step back a little bit, lean over, close it. And of course there was a rattle down below with tools, but let's do that again. So you can see it pops up beautifully and it pops down nice and quiet. But how sweet is that? Come on, you guys. So we went from slapping down before and these seats sliding around to that right there floating. Looks better, feels better, and that was a finishing touch I'm pretty proud of. All right, so we're all done with the seats. I'm gonna get my mess cleaned up, get things put away. It's pretty dark out there, pretty cold night. I hope you liked the video. I hope you enjoyed watching the process, and I hope somebody actually gets out there and does it. Let me know in the comments if you do. Let me know ways you've improved your boats that maybe I could borrow some of that. It'd be really cool if all of us that share these same interests were able to kind of network and talk about some of the worthwhile upgrades and functions and things like that. And so I'm gonna post this video, and hopefully this might make sense to somebody. It was wild as I was making this, because I did the first seat and everything went great. It went so smooth, it seemed so easy. And then I brought out my phone to record the second one for this video, and that one was a royal nightmare. See, I'm already not great at mechanical type stuff. Some of you that are really handy with tools and really good probably watched some of this video and thought there's a million ways of doing it better, and I would imagine you're right about all of them. It's not my strong point, but I love working on my boat. It gets me out here in it. As you guys know, owning a boat is as much about the time you spend in there cleaning it up or putting in little gadgets or features that are useful, organizing it, things like that is part of the fun of ownership. And so I really like the seats. I really like what they're doing now. I think it's definitely functional. When you get out there in the water and you're trying to get life jackets out or some of the tools out from underneath these seats, I really don't like that they just try to fall down on you. You had to hold them up with one hand, try to grab or dig around stuff with two. Now they'll hold up and stay up themselves, and I think that's going to be pretty useful. And let me know if you like these videos or if you want me to do any of the other little features I've got. Hope you enjoyed the video. Get out there, catch some fish.